So we're kind of down to the last operations here on this, and I wanted to show a little tool that I made. So this is what the part I'm doing right now, and there's a hole. There's two tapped holes and then a hole that goes through, and the idea is, and this is a long drill bit here. The idea is that there's a guide rod that runs here. Well, I need to drill into this spot a little bit, but as you can see, that's a really long reach, okay? So I'll demonstrate on this one here. So this is a small version here, and it's got the same hole, but this one I could reach in the mill, and what happens is it gets a little guide rod like that, and that pops into there, and when this top plate is on here, this thing is retained, okay? So that's the general idea, okay? So how do you do that, right? How do you get in there and drill that? Well, if you had a little right angle head, you could do something in there, but that's kind of a pain. So what I did was I just made a little quick little fixture, and it's just a drill guide, and it's made out of just cold rolled steel. And what it does is it fits in here kind of snugly. Maybe a little too snugly, okay, and then kind of saddles up over this thickness. And since I've already drilled this hole in the right place, it just pilots this in the correct place down here, so it's all centered. Now I had to make a little I also had to make a little depth stop here. So oops, maybe I need to ream that out a little bit. I didn't try it on there before I turn the camera on, so always remember that. So yeah, so here's what happens when a machinist gets too precise. I mean, what's going on there? I must have a little burr on that or something. Anyway, that's just a stop collar that I'll put here to limit the depth travel. That way, when I cut all the guide rods, they can all be the same length. Okay. Anyway, let me ream that out or take the burr off of that shank, and then we'll go ahead and do a couple and see how it works. All right. So it's just a burr on the shank. So what I'm going to do is, so I'm touching there, right? And what I want is about a rod's diameter's engagement in there. It's not a real fussy, actually let's just measure it. So it's probably a little over 1/4 of an inch because of the drill point. Let's do 5/16. I should have ran that down first. Okay, there it's touching. That up there. Okay, that'll work. Cinch that down. Okay, I'm gonna get that looks okay. So let me get the cordless drill on there, and then we'll give one a go here. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it running because I'm not too far away here. Try this here. Okay, that's it. As she wrote. Let's try it. All right, that looks pretty good to me. Happy camper. Okay, rinse and repeat. I don't know, nothing special here. I had to relieve the inside here because there's a little corner radius in there, and I just cut a little 45 chamfer on there. Okay, so what we got here, these are the squeeze springs for making the adjustment on those pipette racks. So I got several flavors here, and these are stainless steel spring stainless steel. These are 20 thousandths thick, about half a millimeter, and these are 0.31 thousandths thick. So, and these are, I didn't cut these out myself. I had them laser cut just because it was efficient and fast, you know, because there was a quantity of them. So once you decide to go that route, I decided to go ahead and experiment with a couple of sizes and a couple of shapes to see which ones I like the best. So that kind of opens the door for those kinds of, you know, what I would call design experiments. So the ones I really want to use, I think, are these right here. This, you know, looking at the computer screen, that looked okay, but in real life, it's a little bit big. So what's going to happen here is what we have to do is we have to make a bend, actually two bends, you know, approximately right here and right there, right? So these bend up, and it forms a spring that kind of looks like a binder clip. Okay, so now here's the kicker on this is when I bend these up, I want these holes to line up real well. Okay, so my bending has to be pretty accurate, right? So it's not, you know, scribe and eyeball type bending. Okay, we want to bend these uniformly. So a good method is to come off of the center line and come out. So this is symmetrical to these two holes, right? So we're going to use that as our gauging point for our bend. So we'll come out to bend and we'll come out to bend. Now, so I've created a little bending die that I just made up real quick. You know, there's no fantastic machine work on it or anything like that. So we'll pop over to the mill and we'll take a look at it, and we'll bend up a couple of these and see how it looks. Okay, these are the ones I think I want to use here. Although it's thicker material than this, and so it might be a little bit too stiff. These are hard things to predict when you're designing, right? You know, what's the squeeze force going to be, you know, on something like that. Okay, so let's pop over to the mill. I'll show you the little bending die. We'll get it set up, and then we'll make some bends. All right, so here's the little bending die. Actually, let me grab one of the parts that we're gonna use. And what I did was I just milled a shallow step in that, so that this will keep it oriented when we bend it. Okay, and this width right here happens to be my correct bend-to-bend distance. So what we're going to do is we're going to pop that on there like, well, actually, you know, I need to put this together. So we're going to use the mill as a kind of a press brake here, and so I got a little spud here. Actually, let's put this together, and this is going to go in the mill. Tighten that up. Oop. So let's snug that up. Okay. And then I'm going to put this in the collet, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the edge of the Kurt vise as a forming die. Okay. So this is what we would call in the business as a wiper die. Okay. So we're actually going to do something like this. Okay. Get in there. We'll set the gap of the Kurt jaws here correctly for our bend-to-bend distance plus the material plus a little bit. And then we're just going to force this into the vise, and we're going to form both of those bends at the same time. Okay. So what we want is we want this square with the world. We want this gap between here and here correct. And then our part is registered to this notch, and off we go to the races. So let's, I think I'll change the camera around a little bit, and then I'll get this all set up and you guys can see that. Alright, so let's put that in there. So I'm going to kind of leave that loose. I'm going to put it in low gear so that the spindle doesn't want to rotate. And my DRO is kind of already set because I was machining this. So I'm going to come over half the distance of that block, right there, ½ inch, and then come down and, oops, you know what? This is not going to work. I got to come up. What I want to do, let's see, can you still see that? Yeah, okay, good. I still have to reach the drawbar. You know, a little minor detail there. All right. Okay, so when I clamp this in the vise, that orients that. Now I can move the quill still. I'm going to come down until I'm sitting on that little shoulder. Lock that. Now let me snug that puppy up. Alrighty. Okay, now remember to loosen the vise, Mr. Wizard. Okay, something like that. And then, so this is basically oriented now. So now what we want to do is set this gap. So we got 1 inch plus 2 material thicknesses. Plus a little bit. So let's see, that's 20, 40. So just double that. So 1 inch 80, I think, is what I'm going to try to start with there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this adjustable parallel, and I'll put that in the bottom so I can squeeze on that in the vise. And so we'll set that. Maybe you guys can see that. I'm just holding the calipers, oops, against it. Oops, there it goes. So if you hold the calipers against it, then just kind of advance the parallel. There we go. So 1 inch 80 is where I'm going to set that. And I'll just go ahead and lock that down, just for anti-bozo activities. All right, so we'll stick that in there. I'm going to put that in the vise, and we're going to give it a little bit of clamp. And that angle's low enough that I can squeeze on that and it's not going to slide. Okay, so, okay, I got a screw. So I'm using a flathead screw to, you know, get a little more centering out of that. And I can't find the, there it is. I thought I had all my goodies here. Okay, so that's in the registration notches. Yes. And I'm oriented. I'm gapped. Oh, I gotta move over so that this is centered in the gap. So let me do that. Almost forgot. All right, and then I'm just gonna lock the table just for ha-has. Let's see. I think I'm gonna go back in the middle here off of the mounting screws there. Okay, you guys ready? So there's the idea right there. You know what? I think I'm going to move the camera so you guys can see it from the side. That might be a little more exciting. Or yeah, let's just do that. And see how. All right, you guys ready? So there it is. We're set. And I'm putting a little bit of force on it. I haven't hit it yet. Well, let's just go for it. There it goes. Like so. Alright. Well, that's the deal. So what we got here. Oop. Of course, I dropped the screw. All right, well, I'll go fetch that in a minute. But anyway, that's the spring. So it's not going to come up 90 because these are 90 here, and I have a little extra gap on that. And but the idea is that those are slightly open. Let me grab a rod. Let's see how the rod goes. All right, so yeah, I might need a little more open. This is I don't know, it's looking pretty good. And that's a little loose. So I think I'm gonna let's see. So what I want to happen is I want this angle to be a little more open. So what I'll do is I'll change this gap in the vise. I'll open that up a little bit, and then those legs will be splayed out a little bit more. So we'll try another one. Okay, so I changed the die around a little bit. I add a little more radius on this here, and I changed the gap a little bit. Let's try another one here. I can get the screw in there. So I get in my registration notch, snug that up. Okay, I think I'm happy. Let's go down. I'm just going to give it a little sit. Well, you know what? Let's just go for it. Like that. Okay. It's a little bit of force to do it. Not too bad. Okay, that looks pretty good. I can lubricate these surfaces here, which would help probably a little bit, but I don't think it's that big. It's not that hard to push. Okay, there's the spring. And you can see the legs are opened a little more. We've got a nice internal bend radius there. It's pretty happy. Let's put it on the rod. And I'm looking for a little bit of tension there, which is what I get here. So the idea is that you squeeze these and then you can position this and then you let go of it and it holds load, okay? So that's how that works. So it's kind of like it's a fancy binder clip, I guess, something like that. So I think I want to bend one of the thicker ones and see what that feels like, and see which ones I want to use. All right, well, I went ahead and bent up some of the other ones too, and these are a little thicker material, so they're actually a little stiffer than this type here. So let me show you how those work. So the idea is that we'll put this one in here. That goes in there like that, and so there's a shelf member that's attached to a cross, and you just squeeze these, and then you make the adjustment, and you put it wherever you want, and then you let go of it, and it takes the load at that point. So anyway, that's how that works. These actually feel pretty good. This kind of larger contact surface. They are a little harder to squeeze in this, but I think it's okay. So I think I'm going to go with that, and these will be backup ones if I need those. So anyway, thanks for watching.